Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to some more Dominions 4 Multiplayer Showdown. My name is Sabouts and I'm here with episode 6 as well as turn 16. As you can see, things aren't looking too good. I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys right now I've already went ahead and planned everything out, set up my battle formations. I'm all set. I did it all off camera because it was a lot of thinking and a lot of going through. So I've already looked at all this, so none of this shocks me. But there's a lot of thinking and a lot of going through, and this episode is going to be me walking you through my basically my last ditch effort to reclaim my capital, which, as you can see, was not. We haven't lost the capital. The fort is still up, but it's under siege, and probably what I would assume is very weak province defense fell. So that's kind of where we stand. So, yeah, this will be a little bit of a busy episode as I go through and kind of explain everything. But, yeah, definitely let's get started because there's a lot to go over. And also, real quickly, let me open up my email off to the side here. I've been having diplomatic exchanges between all the different races and nations or whatnot, as you want to call them, over the course of the last week. And general consensus is everybody hates me because I'm undead and I'm ruining all the provinces that I'm on. So I don't know. I probably didn't clarify it enough, but I probably should say it again that the entire game is against me, as expected. I came into the game expecting that when we were picking our nations and I wanted to play. I asked the other players if I could play Middle Age Airmore. The actual general consensus was no. At first, it wasn't really a no, but it was more of like, are you sure you want to do this? Because all of us are going to have to kill you. And I was like, yes, I do want to do it. I understand that I'm going to get knocked out in the game, probably pretty early game with everybody against me. But it was something I wanted to do because it was exciting, and it doesn't bother me if everybody's against me. It doesn't. I think Middle Age Airmore is cool. So that was expected. So between the diplomatic conversations and stuff, everybody still very much hates me in the game. But let's go over first what happened here, and then I'll take it one step at a time. I'm trying to figure out like where to begin. So we did cast some Lictorian Guard, which is good. They're going to help us in the upcoming battle. We got a little bit of research and enchantment, but that doesn't really do any good for us. What did it give us, really? Like, okay, actually, no, I'm sorry. That was pretty useful. Animate Skeleton and Animate Dead, as well as reanimation. But Animate Skeleton and Animate Dead are pretty important for us. I would have liked to have gotten like raised skeletons and stuff, but we're just not gonna make it there, which is fine. But those two abilities, the fact that we got those now, are actually pretty important. So there was a battle, not going to bother watching it. I already know what happened. We'll go ahead and take a look at this so you guys can see. I didn't have any forces, or maybe I had some undead hanging out, and they were killed. But either way, this is pretty important, and we're going to take a look at this in a second, because that's a really important screen. Our undefended province was conquered. I've been pulling all my troops off of my provinces to get them kind of grouped together in small battalions to sort of bolster my forces in an attempt to retake the capital. So that's what happened there. Completely expected. By the way, this whole episode is probably going to be just this one turn, which is probably how they're all going to be from here on out for as long as I can manage to hang in there. I'm hanging by a thread, and I don't expect that all to bounce back. But that doesn't mean I'm just going to turn all over my, even though some of you guys have told me to quit. I'm not going to give my provinces up. I'm not going to give my provinces up without a fight. I'm just not. We had an unexpected event, province income plus 20, yeah, sure, whatever. New trade routes. Who am I trading with? Nobody likes me. We had an unexpected event. The province was randomly lost because I guess people revolted. I don't know. Maybe skeletons decided that they had unfair wages or something, so they revolted against me, and now they just have their own little skeleton independent province that somebody will take. And then we're under siege and the walls are damaged. Okay, so that's everything here. That's important. Now, like I said, this screen, pretty important. We're going to come back to it in a second, but we're not going to worry about it right now. So here's what the map looks like currently as I stand. I do still have scouts somewhat off in the area, and it wouldn't hurt to maybe go ahead and navigate those scouts into areas that I think might be key for future information, though I don't think it really matters at this point, especially with Vanheim, because I can't see his armies anyways, but we're going to keep moving nonetheless with whatever scouts I do have. I thought I had a scout to the north. I guess not. So those look like the only scouts I had. Oh, there was one right here. Sure, we'll just keep going south with that one. See how much of the map we can at least see before I die. Okay, so we've got 2 provinces here, no commanders or anything on them, just a couple undead forces that can't move about, so they're just going to stay there. There's nothing they can do. They're kind of protecting those provinces, but really they're not. And these are really my key provinces, these 3 provinces here. This is where a bulk of my forces stand. As you can see, we are under siege, and we have Vanheim forces on our capital, but alas, we are not undefended. There are plenty of forces here, and we're going to go over all of these in a second once I'm done with the map. You can see Asfadl here coming over and eating up those provinces that Shanu here was kind of coming down. These little Tortuga's nation there. He was coming down and taking these. He was harassing me, but Asfadl, I haven't talked. Actually, it's the one person I haven't talked to is Asfadl, so I don't know like what's going on or how the war is going for them, but it looks like it's going good. Like, these were my provinces, but who knows? Maybe if like somehow we did turn this around, he would maybe let me take those provinces back. But at this point, I think they're pretty much locked down on his side, seeming that I think he's pretty well aware of my situation and what's happening with me. Now, right now, it is only Vanheim that is giving me the biggest problem. So even though everybody is against me, I will say that it is only one person attacking me. But I want to clarify this. Keep in mind that the other nations, for as far as I know, and as far as diplomatically the information I've received from various sources, are not really attacking each other. Other than small quarrels going on here and there, and a couple border disputes, nobody is attacking each other. So Vanheim is able to 100% throw his army at me. Because he has no issues really, no threats from anybody else except for Agartha. Now, this is where it kind of gets fuzzy. I have been in contact with Vanheim a little bit, and from emails that he has sent me, it appears that he feels threatened by Agartha, who clearly, from what I'm getting, now I know you guys know the point of view, know the actual point of view because you're watching the others' videos, but do understand that I do not know what's going on except for any information I've received through emails and messages in game. And maybe like live chats and stuff like that through Steam. But other than that, I don't know anything. So for what I'm getting, Agartha has not been so cushy with the living coalition that is against me. They haven't necessarily gone out and spoken against it, but they certainly don't appear to be for it. Simply because Agartha is kind of like one of those nations that is maybe, I would say, middle of the road, good and evil. They're not really good, but they're not really evil. And the Living Coalition seemed to be comprised of more like what would lean on the side of good nations. So Vanheim appears to feel threatened by Agartha and by Agarthan forces, and he is somewhat hesitant to leave his borders completely unprotected because he feels that Agartha is going to attack him. Now, I don't know if Agartha has forces here. From what my spies are telling me, there's not very many forces around here that I can see. Now, I will be up here this turn, and that should tell me whether or not there's a force here. And I'll tell you why that's important. And I'm not sure if Vanheim actually knows where my scouts are. I don't think he does. And so let me get on with the message he sent me. Essentially, and I'm going to break it down because it was a long message. I'm going to break it down in the most important bits. He informed me he took my capital province. Other than breaking my fortress down, he hasn't, but he is sieging it. But he does have my capital province. Okay? He informed me of an Agarthan army and told me the exact composition of the army and said that it was moving towards the Oak Halls, which is this province right here. He has told me that Vanheim has prepared no defenses and has offered me an option, an ultimatum per se. The ultimatum is that I take all of my forces, reroute them, and engage Agartha in Oak Halls for Vanheim. If I am to do so, Vanheim has promised that because of the increasing threat of Agartha to his provinces, that he will back his army off of my capital and allow me to have my capital. And he's going to back his armies off to deal with the increasing threat of Agarthans spreading over into his dominion. And that's essentially what it is. So he's not saying I'm going to be best friends with you. He's just saying that Agartha right now is appearing to be a large threat to him. And his army's probably doing no good here. He wants to wipe me out, but he's probably afraid of Agartha taking provinces that are his without any consequences. Here's how I look at this, okay? There's a couple different ways to look at this. Like I said, this turn's going to be all episodes, so sit back, relax, enjoy. Here's how I look at this. Agartha, Vanheim could be completely lying to me, just straight through his teeth, could be just lying right to me, and that's fine. It's part of the game. If he's lying to me, then so be it. I fell for it, and that would be it, right? Well, I haven't fallen for it yet because I haven't done it. But if I was to fall for it, and then he did take my capital, and, you know, that was that, there's nothing I can really do about it. But essentially, that's what I feel. I feel that that's one of the options, okay? The second option is that he could be telling the truth. He could be literally saying, Agartha has become a threat to me, and if you help me deal with this threat by countering Agartha's invasion of Oak Halls, I will back off of your province, which is something to consider. Now, here's my entire take on it. Honestly, I think Vanheim is a filthy, dirty liar. I swear to God, I think he's straight lying through his teeth. I've got scouts down here, and as far as I know, now I can't see this province, and I don't know if the Agarthans are pulling off any trickery, any magic or something to hide their armies, but as far as I can see, and as far as I've ever been able to see, I've never seen an Agarthan army move to this province, nor do I think there's an army there ready to attack Oak Halls. Now, he could be seeing an army coming, maybe, you know, from a different direction, and it's not there yet. Maybe it's like 1 or 2 provinces away. But I don't believe that for a second. I don't think that that's the case. I just don't think that that's happening. I think Vanheim is trying to get me to reroute my forces in an attempt to save my provinces and save my kingdom. He's getting me to reroute my forces to attack Agartha. Agartha will probably either destroy my forces or completely cripple them to the point where I can't put up any resistance to Vanheim, and then Vanheim can completely wipe me out. I don't know if he knows my army compensation. I don't know if he knows how many forces I have. He might. Maybe he considers it a threat. Maybe he's just kind of guessing here. Maybe he doesn't even know how far my borders actually go up here to the north, but I'm assuming he does because he's got contacts with, you know, the Shinu up there in the north. So either way, even if Agartha was to attack the Oak Halls and take it, at what threat does that really... Me counteracting the Agarthans, I'm only helping Vanheim. And even if Vanheim says he's going to come off of my capital, he's just going to turn around and attack me again at some point, probably in the near future. He's definitely not going to let me continue to start growing and expanding again. You know, this is going to be a bloody battle. And there's no other way to look at it. So my personal belief is that he is lying to me. I think he's sending me false informations. The fact that he knows the exact composition of the army, he knows it's going to attack Oak Halls next turn. It's just way too much information. He just seems way too confident in all of his information. And he seems so willing to be like, I'll totally give you your capital back, and I totally won't attack you for a little bit, you know, as kind of a reward for helping me clean up the Agarthans' invasion on Oak Halls. But what happens, I mean, I don't have any armies in the area. It would take me at least a turn to consolidate this army, which isn't much, into this army, which isn't much, to create a moderate army, which isn't much, then to move it into Oak Halls the next month, only for it to probably be completely crushed by the Agarthans. Also, how do I know Vanheim doesn't have units in this province? I don't. Because they've got magical abilities and there could potentially be units there. There's a Vanheim army here, consists of about 60 units. So, I mean, we just don't know what to expect. If Vanheim really truly does feel threatened by Agartha, personally, he'll have to move his army anyways. He's not going to be able to siege my capital the whole time. He'd have to move my army, or his army, to meet the Agarthans in battle, because the Agarthans could completely cut him off, then destroy his army, then push into his provinces. I don't think the Agarthans are as much of a threat as he's playing it out to be to himself, and I don't think he's telling the truth, which is fine. But I'm calling him out on his bluff, and he's going to watch this episode in the future after the game's all said and done. He's going to be like, damn it. Or he's going to be like, you're such a fool, I was telling the truth, we could have all prospered. But I'm close to being out of the game anyways, and I do not want to go down to trickery, and I don't want to be tricked. I would much rather go down in a glorious battle than be tricked into moving into Oak Halls only to be destroyed by an Agarthan army and then have Vanheim clean up what's left. And then they both share a beer and celebrate over my crushing defeat. I'm not going to let that happen. And so here's what I've done. Get ready, guys. This is my last ditch effort. If this doesn't work, then that's it. I'll put my cards down. I'm out of the game. We're going to see what happens, though. I've got a pretty good sized army here, as well as my prophet, and as well as my my false god, the Lich Kings here. So here's what I've set up. It's pretty intense. Let me go over it all. Okay, I spent about no, that's not that much. I spent probably about an hour and a half to 2 hours setting all of this up, and that might seem like, wow, you really spent 2 hours setting all of that up. It's really not that much, but I really honestly thought this all through. As any brief knowledge I have of Dominions 4, I put it into a little ball and I just shoved it into the game, and I'm so hoping that this if it doesn't get a victory out of it, I just hope it causes so much mayhem that if Agartha really is moving on Vanheim, Agartha just completely rips through him and crushes him. And that would make me, nothing would make me more happier in the world. But here's what I set up, okay? We got to go over this. So we've got, our Hollow of the Bishop here, and I've set him to cast Protection of the Sepulchre, which I think is going to be pretty important because with this prayer, an unholy priest grants magic resistance to most undead beings on the battlefield. This extra magic resistance is very useful if the enemy has priests that can banish the undead. I can almost guarantee, and I already know, that Vanheim is using priests to banish my undead because we saw it in the Oak Halls battle. We saw that happen. So he is banishing my units. That's going to prevent a large swath of my units from being banished because it's gonna grant them immunity to that. I've went ahead. I've attached a massive army to my Lich King here. And you can see that this army is kind of all spread out in the front. They've all got various orders. I don't want to go too deep into it all. You guys can pause the screen if you want and look over this and then super criticize me for it. No, please don't. Please don't jump down my throat. Like, I'm trying my best here. But look over this and you could really see what I've did. I'm still going to keep going over it. But yeah, moved all my armies up here in the front and that's going to give me kind of a nice little bolster here. I've actually got these more kind of weaker units. Oops. These more kind of weaker undead shambling units up in the front here, maybe to absorb a little bit of fire, as well as absorb that initial cavalry charge that we got in the Oak Halls battle. I'd rather have these shamblers kind of absorb that charge, especially because the trample will be pretty rough. And they're not as good as my, my Airmore Legion units and whatnot, so they can kind of come in behind these shamblers and do their real damage. Now, I've set the Lich King to do a little bit of resist magic on himself just to help himself out, and then he's just going to start animating skeletons. All my mages are going to be animating endless waves of skeletons. Now, it's only a skeleton, so it's not like massive amounts of skeletons, but there's a lot of mages animating skeletons, so I'm hoping that it starts creating this kind of like, holy crap, endless wave of undead that we're trying to go for here. And I've actually also, if you look, I've spaced it out a little bit off to the side here. I've got some mages here animating dead, mage over here animating dead, some Lictorian Guard commanders kind of peppered through there to provide some defense. The Lictorian Guard that I summoned, which is right here, they're actually sacred units, and they're set up all around to protect my prophet and my god, which is going to be pretty important, as well as a few commanders there. And then there's a priest up here, and he's going to be casting, if we take a look at that priest, he'll be casting Unholy Protection, which is similar to the same magic ability we just looked at, only it's kind of a more smaller radius. But still, we want to get as many undead protected from Banish as possible, because Banish is going to be our biggest enemy coming from Vanheim. If you don't think Vanheim didn't bring a bunch of priests, you're high. He's fighting undead forces. He's definitely got priests that are going to be casting Banish. He'd be crazy if he didn't, and we need to counter that. It's super important. Now, you might be looking at this and be like, well, Sabouts, you're smoking dope because this is not going to be enough to fight Vanheim's army. And you would be correct. There's nothing here that this is not even close to enough, I don't think. I mean, yeah, we got skeletons, being reanimated, a large undead army. My prophet's here. We've got all sorts of freaking priests casting all sorts of protections. And yeah, it's still not enough. That's why this army is also going to move in there and cause some damage, hopefully. So taking a look at this army, kind of went the same thing. You can see these guys are all set up. Now you'll see if you take a look at these, I've got these guys kind of set up similar, except I've offset these to the back a little bit. Shamblers are still in the front because, like I said, I want them to absorb that cavalry trample that kind of comes in. And then the commanders, once again, peppered through in the back part of the army. Now I am you might be thinking to yourself like, oh, what if, you get attacked from behind, or, some unit tries to come for the mages. It's a possibility. I understand that, and that's why I actually set this army up with units in the back as well. But that's why I set it up so that this army here is a little bit more offset. In fact, I'll even go so bold as to kind of put them back that far a little bit. So they're going to be all set to do all of that. And then, yeah, Shamblers in the front. And then we've got Unholy Blessing being cast here, which is going to help our sacred units. So we don't really have a whole lot of like the sacred cavalry, but we do got the Lictorian Guard. And so might as well just be casting it to have. But that's okay because we still got some more animated dead coming out and some more unholy power here. Which grants extra speed and attack skill to a small number of undead beings, which I think is going to be pretty important. And then coming over here, we got 3 more priests here and some more undead units, a bunch of shamblers per se, but actually this one here, and I actually meant to put these ones, actually all of these are supposed to be kind of farther back. Because at least, not the undisciplined, but these guys here are supposed to be farther back. I had them set back there, and I don't know why I didn't. Okay, so these guys are set to hold and attack the closest, and I did that because I want them to hold a turn, just in case I do get attacked from the back. I don't know what to expect, okay? So if I do get attacked from the back, I want a little bit of units back here. Lictorian Guard, some undead units that can maybe help protect some of these priests that are casting animate skeletons. A lot of priests casting animate. Skeleton, animate dead. Going to be pretty important. I think that's going to help a lot. We've got some more unholy protection, which I think is going to be a big deal. Small number of undead beings, magic resistance, so trying to counter that banish. And then we've got unholy protection again, and then unholy power, which is the extra speed and attack skill. I think I've got a pretty nice balance going on here. Like I said, these guys are undisciplined. Shamblers up in the front absorb cavalry, and then hold an attack in the back to provide us some real defense. So all of these armies are going to move up, and then this army is going to go ahead and try to break the siege. Who knows? Maybe Vanheim does move his army off of me simply because maybe he really is worried about the Agarthans. Maybe there really is a threat that I don't know and understand. I don't think there is, but I could be wrong. I've been wrong 1,000 times in my life, 1,000,000 times in my life, so I might be wrong now. But I might also be right. Who knows? So it's hard to say, but either way, any way you slice this cheesecake, I can either waste my time pulling all my units together, which I can't get these units off anyways because they're under siege. So I just build this small meager army here, and then what? Move it into Oak Hills and get crushed? Or I could take the might of every one of my units that I've got left, shove it down Vanheim's throat, and if he conquers me, hell, good for him. He defeated my whole army, and that's fine. But I would be a lot more embarrassed if I moved these forces here and fell for a trap, or if my army got kicked by Agartha, than I would if I died on the battlefield in glorious bloodshed to the Vanheim army, which is the army that really, other than Shanu, who's gotten pretty cleaned up by Asphodel, looks like, other than Shanu, who actually caused a threat to me. So I wonder if I should send a message to them. Maybe I'll send a email off or something, just letting them know I'm beginning my final assault, because this is what this is. It's going to be the final assault. So let's go ahead and set all this up. We are taking everybody off research, but again, this is a last-ditch effort. By the time, and I've got a little bit of time left in this episode, so I want to go over. We're going to have probably one more episode, even if this battle, even if I win this battle. I'll still kind of expand a little bit and try to do my thing, but I feel like this is probably still going to go south, and this will probably be the last The last episode, or next episode, will be the last episode for me as we watch the battle take place, and that'll probably pretty much wrap it all up, except for my last turns of dying. But I do want to say that that this has been a lot of fun, and even though I know I'm taking everybody off research and everything, I think this is really my last-ditch effort. I don't think that I have any other options. You guys might tell me in the comment section that I did have a bunch of other options, but please do keep in mind, I think some people have forgotten, please keep in mind that I'm 5+, so not even always 5. Sometimes I'm 6, sometimes I'm 7. We're like 5 to 6 turns ahead of the episode's re-release. So by the time you give me advice on this episode, you can give me advice for what I could have done better, but if you think you're going to give me advice for what I can do better next turn or what I should change, do understand that I'm probably long dead and the series is probably over for me by the time that time comes. As well as past videos, I have appreciated all the advice, but when I'm already, 15 turns ahead, a lot of people were like, "Oh, you should have a profit." Well, actually, I got a lot of mixed comments from that. You should have a profit. You shouldn't have a profit. You should wait till you get a better person to make a profit. You should make a profit right off the beginning. Like, everybody sent me mixed signals, but it didn't even matter because by then I was already 6 turns ahead and I had already made a profit. So, that's just how this game is going. It's a role-playing game. It's not a competitive, I'm going to, crap on all my enemies and crush them in the ground and then throw the trophy at their faces in anger. I don't know. So, yeah, this is definitely a last-ditch effort. So let's go ahead. We're going to set them to break the siege. I could set them to defend castle, obviously, but we want to break the siege because that's what we're going to do, because we're going to go ahead and grab all these guys up and move them. Oops. And we're going to grab all these guys up and move them. Don't know what to expect, but I can tell you what, it's going to be a great battle next turn. It's going to be a fantastic battle, and I'm excited to see how it plays out. So this has been a long episode as well as a long turn. I hope that you guys did stick it through. I hope you got a lot of information out of it and you have a better understanding for my thinking right now for how the map is laid out and whatnot. And I hope you guys are excited to see this battle as much as I am. For those of you who might have felt disappointed that I didn't do as well, or I could have done better, you're right. I could, anybody can always do better. But I think this last glorious battle between the undead and living forces will hopefully help make up for that, and we'll all be able to enjoy some bloodshed on the battlefield in front of the castle of Airmore. So double checking, everybody set to break siege, everybody set to move, and I'll go ahead and finish up, and that's going to be the end of my turn here, as well as the end of this episode. So I want to thank you guys for joining me. I'll see you next episode for the final conclusion, I would say, the big final battle against Vanheim's forces, and may the undead gods be with us. So thanks again, guys. I do hope that you enjoyed this episode, and I look forward to seeing you next time.